So then fam, Disney. Share prices up and down, mostly down, yet Disney Plus up. Disney's all over the place. It's like theme park attendance is down thanks to COVID. It's like, and basically all different parts of the Disney franchises are pulling and pushing in different directions. You know, their TV series have been middling success, even though a lot of them have been fun. There's been troubles with the Hulk series, you know, because a lot of the fan base has gone, the critics are going, "Arr." Some people have liked the Hulk thing, but, you know, everybody likes things, everybody doesn't like things. We're gamers, we're used to that. So, there's ideas that parts of Disney might be sold off, which could be interesting considering Disney has spent so much time and money consolidating huge amounts of media power. You know, they're like, like Palpatine, you know, from their own Star Wars. Unlimited power! It's like, you know, maybe their power could and should be limited, because maybe Disney is too big. Like Microsoft are maybe too big. You know, maybe companies need to be smaller so they be more nimble and more reactive to the needs of their customers. You know, does everything have to be a megacorp? I think not. It's like, I think there's a few corporations on this planet that could do with breaking up and downsizing. Amazon! You know, it's like, but yeah. So, what parts of Disney could be up for sale? Well, for me, obviously, this being a gaming channel, the idea of gaming being sold off, or bits of the gaming sold off, maybe particular franchises, you know, of Disney games being sold, or maybe Disney games as a bunch, you know, the Disney Games studio being sold, probably still being called Disney Games in name, you know, and maybe like a small amount of credit going to Disney, you know, considering they set it all up, but maybe like the vast share of the profits going to whoever buys them. And this got me thinking. There have been occasions in the last couple of years, well, Sony has been buying some companies, you know. I mean, they've bought a few little game houses here and there, you know, nothing big, just little things of this, little things of that, bit of this, bit of that, you know, diversifying their portfolio. I mean, after all, Sony has been making that push to make sure that they're ready for a more online-based future. I mean, purchasing Jade Raymond's new lot, you know, just so they can have those online games. They spoke about having, you know, more online service games because that's where a lot of gaming is these days, as we push more and more and more into a digital, social sharing, you know, web future. And yeah, I'm mostly up for that kind of thing. It does sound like there's a lot of promise in that particular meal. So, could Sony buy Disney's gaming wing, or at least aspects of the gaming wing? Now, if they're going to do it, I think one thing they should definitely focus on is the Marvel part. Not the Marvel movies, but the actual Marvel licensed by Marvel video games that are now under the umbrella of Disney, but could solely be under the umbrella of Sony. And I'll tell you for why. Spider-Man. Have you ever looked at the Spider-Man games, even if you're an Xbox guy? Now, you may have seen them in the background of this channel from time to time. There have been bits of Spider-Man used behind me here on the green screen. And what you have to admit, that those Spider-Man games, the first one, and then its reboot on the PlayStation 5, the Miles Morales and its reboot on the PlayStation 5, and also their subsequent reboots on PC for the PC guys. Those games are gorgeous. They're really super nice, and as someone that's played them both, I can tell you, they are a joy to play. The controls are nice, so natural, for doing something that is completely unnatural, web swinging through New York. Are you going to go web swinging through New York? Of course not. But it feels natural and like you've done it forever when you are playing as Peter Parker, and to a certain degree, even playing as Miles Morales, even though he's less experienced. And there's a little tiny difference in the controls when you're playing as Miles as to when you're playing as Peter. And I, for one, cannot wait for the next Spider-Man game. It's going to be amazing. Then we also remember that Wolverine is coming exclusively to PlayStation platforms. Yes. So we got Wolverine, we got Spider-Man, two of the largest, most recognizable characters in the Marvel hero pantheon. And there's more, and there can be more. I mean, we had an Iron Man VR game a couple years ago. Now, admittedly, it was a little bit janky, but the idea was that you actually really did get an authentic Iron Man play experience. You were flying repulsors, you were being Iron Man in an Iron Man-y type of way. You even had the heads-up display going on in your VR headset, So it made perfect sense for VR and for Iron Man. Of course, we've had the Marvel's Avengers games that they were multi-platform, but as far as I'm led to believe, they did slightly better on PlayStation. I'm not entirely certain about that. That's just something I heard. I don't have actual data on that, but if you have actual data, then please type down below, let them bloke know. But as far as I'm given to understand, it did slightly better on PlayStation. And there have been other games that have been Marvel based on PlayStation that have done very, very well. And the power fantasy of superheroes is always appealing. And considering that Sony has always centered herself more as a story game platform, the idea that we could start to tell superhero stories interspersed with superhero action on PlayStation 5 is most alluring. I mean, we could actually get a Fantastic Four story that is better than any of the movies that have come out. Now, admittedly, when you look at Fantastic Four, that's not exactly hard to surpass. And the two Fantastic Four movies from the early thousands, you could surpass those quite happily. And you could most easily surpass the one from the 80s. Eek! That's a bad movie. I watched it. But, so, there's so much they could do. They could even maybe get the right to redo the X-Men arcade game. You remember that one with the 8 players? Oh no, some of you won't remember this, right? Used to be this X-Men arcade game. Honest to God, right? It was 3 screens joined together, and it was a bank of 8 controls. So it was an attack, a jump, and light attack, and a joystick. And 8 of you could be round this unit looking at these 3 screens on a side-scrolling Double Dragon X type game, or And it was just brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. It had all the right music, fighting against Magneto, and the Brotherhood of Mutants and all the rest of it. Honestly, the game was, for the time, amazing. And now you can even pick it up as one of those one-up arcade dealies, which is just amazing. But I think there's a lot of scope. I think, considering how well Sony has worked with Marvel products in the past, I think they could really be onto something here. Maybe doing a little bit of team up with some other studios. I mean, when we look at the Guardians of the Galaxy game, that game was a lot of fun. I really, really dug Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, okay, the gameplay was a little bit grindy and sometimes the play mechanics were a little stiff, but the story really was an affecting story and I had a lot of fun with it. So I do think that Marvel and Sony together, you know, with various Sony studios, you know, could do interesting things, like perhaps Sucker Punch. I mean, Sucker Punch have proven themselves back in the day with the Infamous game. They know how, with Infamous, to make a superhero game. In fact, most of the Sony studios that have done anything, you know, single player story focused, could probably handle something like this. And I think there's great potential there, you know. So, but, you know, let me know what you think in that comment section. Am I a dreamer? Have I gone too far? Or could Sony have a piece of the Disney cake and party on? Hey! Okay, guys. Hashtag support Scottish YouTubers. And of course, as always, aye. No bother.